Welcome to the Bracket Factory and welcome to the latest episode of the big American La France V12 engine special project. Now, if you saw the last video about the engine, you'll know that I was in a bit of a quandary about whether I was going to run the engine with the boards as I found them or take the heads off. Now, as you've probably realised, I decided to take the heads off. So ultimately, I just couldn't bring myself to start the engine with the boards like that. And also the valves didn't look great either, did they? So down the rabbit hole I must go. Right, it is time to take this head off. I've taken all the subheads off. I've had a damn good tidy up because it was getting a right old state. And this is the first head I'm going to take off. So what I've done, I've wound it over just to top dead centre, because I'd already marked that, of course. And I just checked out which valves had lifted, and let's see, 1, 2 and 3 on the right bank. Is it the right bank? Yes, the right bank had lifted on the inlets. So I have wedged them open and then backed it off, so they're now wedged open so that I can actually get the head back on again. I don't plan to take any valves out, you see. I just want to see inside the bores. So I've also broken the seal on all of these bolts. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 bolts. And there's two more. There's two more on there. This is some kind of water jacket connecting piece. It connects the two heads. It's the same as these bits here. I guess the heads can be flipped round. So without further ado, let's take one off, shall we? Actually, this is interesting. Since I've backed off the head gasket, I've got water leaking out there, so that means there's water inside it. Pretty obvious, really, isn't it? Ooh, blimey. I nearly lost the cylinder head then. Good job these are in the way. Oh, blimey. It's quite heavy. Oh dear, all of my foot. If I rock it, you can see all the water in the jacket here. But weirdly, I opened this, nothing drained out. Maybe it's just all gummed up. Looks like it is. Oh, hold on, fire in the hole. Ah. Yeah, it's all gummed up. Right, let's drain that water out. Should have done that first, shouldn't I? Oh, look at that. Almost good enough to drink, that. Right, let's take stock of the situation. So, the bore has surface rust, and you can feel it. It's sort of rough to the touch. That's what rust feels like. But as this one, what I've already gone and done is I've gone in with a Scotch-Brite and basically rubbed it off, and it feels very smooth now, so I'm probably not going to try and hone them. I'm just going to go in there with Scotch-Brite. Let's just turn over some of the other ones. So this is another one, and there's one there. Oh, let's look at that one. Looks pretty good. Looks all right. Look at the water in it. But yeah, I think I'm just going to go into all of these, clean them out. Scotch-Brite where it's a little bit rusty. You can see very slightly in there. It's very dirty. Very slightly in there. But I think we're good. And as far as the gasket's concerned, it's just a single thickness copper gasket. Unfortunately, it got snagged on the valve spring here. So what I'm going to try and do is extremely carefully prise it off and reuse it. Might have a go at annealing it, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to reuse it. But obviously I've got to have to make sure everything is spotlessly clean. It's got quite a lot of gunge from the waterways, so I might have to vacuum all that out. So anyway, what shall I do next? Probably clean up as much of this as possible. All this muck in here, look, it all needs hoovering out. And then get this off, I reckon, put it in a safe place, and then go for the other side and see what horrors are waiting there. Right, so I've done a little bit of cleaning. I've taken up this water jacket connector, cleaned out this a bit. I've cleaned the top of this piston. Cleans up pretty easily. 1L shows I've got my left and my right mixed up, which is very common. If you ask Nat, she'll tell you that. They've all numbered. That's got 6L on it. I could crack on with cleaning that up. The gasket looks like it's going to lift off. It's not a single skin of copper, it's like a copper sandwich. Not pulled that off yet, but what I think I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to come around the other side and I'm going to whip this one off, because I've got a sneaking feeling this one is going to be pretty ugly inside. This is the one which had the completely seized spark plug, which I had to get out by saw cutting through the thread. Wouldn't come out with an easy out, not a chance. So I'm going to whip this off, whip everything off, take off the cylinder head, and see what horror awaits in there. Right, all the bolts out. Learned from a lesson. I've drained all the, well, I went to drain all the water, but there was no water in it, which is slightly worrying, because the other side was full of water and this one wasn't. I now know it's located on 2 dowels, so I shouldn't have to thump it with a hammer. If I just lift it to break the seal. Oh, blimey, nearly went. So it was stuck. Right, let's lift it off. I also removed the distributor, because it would have been a real shame to smash that to pieces, wouldn't it? So here it comes. Oh. And down it goes. Right, so these are the balls I'm worried about. As you can see, I wound it to top dead center, so I'm going to wind that down and let's have a look. Right, so at the bottom, let's go in, have a wipe. Right, I'm going to need a torch on this. Right, let's have a look at these balls then. So, give them a mark. 1 is bad, 10 is good. So I'd say that one is a 4. That one's pretty good. I'd say that's probably an 8 or a 9. Okay, so that one also pretty good. I'd say that was 7. That one is probably a 4. That one, ooh, a 3. It's quite, oh, maybe not, maybe don't know, 5. It's this last one I'm worried about. Right, this one, I'd say this one is probably a 2. That feels rough. I think it's been full of water, this ball. I've got a sneaky feeling. So I think now a lot of elbow grease needs to be ordered from Amazon, and I'm going to have to get busy fettling and cleaning. You can see here what happens. This is I've kind of vacuumed out this one here. This gallery is completely blocked with gunge, look. So this one needs vacuuming out. Should be a hole there. I think. Yeah, should be a hole there. Right, let's get cleaning. So after using quite a lot of elbow grease, this block has now been prepared, and I've been in and I've cleaned and to some degree honed the bores, and some are better than others. So that one is quite nice. You can see this one has got sort of slight sort of shadows on it. That's got some radial marks where the rings have just stuck there, but generally it's not too bad at all. It's certainly nothing that's going to stop it running. This one that was really bad. Doesn't look too bad now. I mean, it's nice and smooth. Interestingly, I've noticed there's the bore art stamped on each one. And actually they are all 3.6235, apart from this one, which is 3.624. And we can also see on this particular piston, which was much cleaner than the rest because it hadn't been running on it, it's got lots of little pock marks where fragments of valve have just been smashed into it. I think we're going to find the equal and opposite problem on the cylinder head, but we'll get to that. But you might want to get an indication of what this thing is going to look like when it's running, so here goes. Quite hypnotic, isn't it? So I think that's all for now. I've got to sort out the, well, that's all for now for this bit of the engine anyway. I've got to sort out the gaskets, but they look pretty good. So I think the next thing I have to do is turn my attention to the cylinder heads. So here are the heads in all their glory and filth, and you can see that they're completely coked up. The waterways are all blocked. Pretty manky. And now that these heads are actually off the engine, I suppose, reluctantly, despite the fact I said I wasn't going to do it, I should take all these valves out and clean them all up and lap in all of the seats, etc. So looks like I'm going to be ordering a load more elbow grease, doesn't it? Right, so let's take a look at the damage yet again. So this end one is the problem valve, problem cylinder. It's one with the C spark plug, and you can see that the valve seat is very heavily pitted and corroded. That's exhaust. There's no way that would have sealed. So just as well I did this, isn't it? Really obvious in hindsight. That is bad. That's not great. Not great. Not great. Okay, but that's the one I cleaned up actually. That's okay. That's not great. That's the new one. Not great, not great, not great, not great, but I'm quite confident that those can all be cleaned up and made to be quite nice. So let's take a look at the valves over at the bench, I think. Right, over at the bench looking at the valves, I've made this sort of valve stand, and just roll it over. You can see I've actually already cleaned this one up. I couldn't resist it. It was pretty heavily pitted. This is the worst one. We can see the surface of the valves is pretty bad. Some better than others. That one's not too bad. Up here, this end, this one's got a big chip out of it, so I might be replacing that one. I mean, it's just time, isn't it? I mean, these valves are only £7, so I might just buy a load more while stocks last. The stems are, look at this stem. So you can see that is pretty bone dry, so I'll get those in the lathe and clean them all up. Yeah, clean them all up and then take it from there. You can only do one thing at a time, and cleaning is mainly what I'm doing, so let's sort that lot out. Right, valves. Pick a valve, any valve. So I'm picking this valve here. As you can see, it's a bit manky, so we're going to clean this one up so we can see the wood for the trees. So all the valves are now cleaned up so we can assess the damage. As a general rule of thumb, it looks like the inlets, which are larger, are worse than the exhausts. So this one is quite pitted on the valve surface. Possibly can be cleaned up, possibly not. Another inlet, a bit pitted. This one, of course, is the chipped one. So it looks like I've ordered some more valves. I haven't quite decided how many I'm going to replace yet. So, but I've already made one more. This is the replacement for the chipped one. Haven't got any left now. I've ordered some more though. Oops. So I think what I'm going to do now is turn my attention to the heads, clean up the heads, and start putting some of these valves in, lapping them, see how they look. I mean, there's loads of meat. That's slightly eroded on the surface, but there's a lot of meat left on that valve, so that could be bedded in a little bit more, I'm sure. So anyway, let's go over to the cylinder heads and sort those out. So here we go. After a lot more cleaning and fettling, we have one cleaned head. So compare and contrast to the other head. You can see how all these galleries get completely blocked up. So they're all cleaned out now, which is quite good. So what is weird on this head, I'm sure you can tell, but there's these kind of weird kind of gouge marks. I thought at first I'd done it with the wire brush, but there's no way. I mean, it's really deep. It looks like it's been dragged along something in the past. It's very strange. Also quite strange is these combustion chamber slots look like they've been hand finished, and they're not actually the same. That's quite a bit bigger than that one, so it's a bit of an agricultural thing. But anyway, that's quite good. Ports are looking quite good as well, so I think I'll put this in a safe place on the engine and spin the guns round to this one and get this one sorted. So here is another one I prepared earlier. It's this second one cleaned up. Weirdly, it has these same sort of long gouge marks. Very, very odd. I mean, that one goes across there, carries on across there, all the way down. Very peculiar. Obviously didn't make any difference. So anyway, now that that's done, the next thing I need to do is if I just tip this over to there, stays there, time to offer up the valves and start to lap them in and see what they look like. Some of them are worse than others. This valve seat here, as you can see, is very pitted. At the other end of the spectrum, well, there isn't another end of the spectrum, but some of them aren't so bad. That's not so bad. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get cracking on the valves. So now you can see that all the valves have been put back in. They've just been offered up to start off with. And what I did is I got my head torch and I put the head torch shining in just here, turn the lights off, and to see if I could see any light coming out through the back. Now on 3 of them I could. On this one I could see light because this is the one which had a chunk out of the valve. This one is the one that I recut, and I've still not recut it enough. And this one, turns out the valve was bent. Now I thought I might have actually bent that myself when I chopped the valves open, because what I did is the valve was open and I put 2 little bits of wood in like that, and I made sure that both sides were supported and it wouldn't bend. And I don't think I bent it, but it's no coincidence that this one is next door to the one that disintegrated. So it may be that a chunk of the valve stem, sorry, the valve guide, which got smashed to pieces, may have got caught underneath this one and bent it slightly. But anyway, it's all a bit academic now because it's got a new valve. So what I need to do now is I need to go along them and just pop this one out. I've already cleaned up the seat a little bit and had a crack at lapping it. So I'm going to go and clean them all up. I've got my my tool to clean them up, lap them in and stick them back together. And you may be wondering why I'm not just replacing all of the valves. Now, believe it or not, I am still desperately trying to hang on to doing the minimum viable. A full rebuild of the heads would actually involve all new valves and all new guides, because the guides are worn. So for now, believe it or not, I'm still trying to do the minimum. So I've just lapped in this valve here, and now I've got nice smooth surface on the valve seat and a sort of nice grey ring on the valve. And what I could have done is I could have used one of these which oscillates from side to side, but I didn't. I just put the drill on the back and spun it round. I did change the direction. You're not really meant to do it that way, but it worked fine. So I think what I'll do is just crack on, finish all the valves, lap them all in. I won't bore you with the whole process. Get the springs back on and get this head ready to go back on. So quite a long time later, and I've sorted out all of these valves. So we pop any one of these up and have a look at the valve seat. You can see it's like a nice grey, smooth, shiny surface. That was the bent valve. This was the sort of valve where the head dropped off, and you can see I've had to take this seat out quite a lot more. But I've done the head torch test. This is the head torch. And what you do is you shine it like that, and then you kind of look down inside and make sure you can't see any light. And they're all pretty good. Pick another one, random one. This one. There you go. So a nice nice grey seat. So what I'm going to do is put the springs back on, but I'm not going to put on number 2 and number 6 because in top dead centre they are lifted. So it means I can just stick the leave these off, stick the head back on, and then I can hook these ones up in situ after winding the crank round a little bit. So stick all the springs back on, I think, and it's on. Well, it's on, but it's not on because the gasket's not in. So I've not put these valves back in. It was actually 4 and 6, so 4 and 6 from the left, which is the same on the other side. It's 4 and 6 from the left. So you can see this one has not been put on, and nor is this one. But I need to put the gasket on, and I will use well seal for that. And that reminds me, I've just finished watching Tweed's Garage on YouTube, and you should go and check out Tweed's Garage because it's very amusing and informative and clever and everything. And his suggestion to use well seal is like a little brush, and I think I'm going to need a roller for mine, but it's a good tip, so I'll be using that. Thank you, Mr. Tweed. But back to this. I'm now going to take the other head off. May have to move that wine glass. I don't know who put that there. Probably Nat left that there. Take the other head off. Do the valves. Lap the valves. Blah, blah, blah. Stick that on. And then I'm getting dangerously close to actually sticking both heads back on. So the other head is now completely built, and I've used a grand total of 0 new valves. But like last time, number 4 is free to move because I need to reinstall the head, and also number 6. So you can see that the valve seats are nice and grey and smooth. So that's all ready to go on. So the next step is to take a look at the gaskets. So here's one of the head gaskets. Now ideally you'd replace the gaskets, but they're very expensive, and I'm still just trying to work out whether the engine's okay. So I'm going to reuse them, but before I do, I'm going to very carefully clean them and break out all of this gunge. Give them a damn good clean and vacuum and wipe, etc. Make sure that they're spotlessly clean and free of oil before I stick the heads back on. So let's sort that out. So these 2 gaskets have come up okay, and I'm fairly confident about reusing these. I think it should be okay. Although one thing I did find on this one, see just there, you see the small imprint of a tiny nail that somehow got underneath the gasket. So it does make you wonder who was working on these in the past, doesn't it? So without further ado, it's time to put the heads back on. So I've cleaned the block, cleaned the surface as clean as I can get it. I've cleaned all of my bolts, heads and threads. I've run a tap down through these threads here to make sure they're all cleaned out. I've cleaned my gaskets, so let's get cracking. Right, these have all now been just nipped up tight, and I have a tightening sequence, which is this comedy sequence. So it goes up to 19 on both sides, so I'm going to make life a bit easier for myself. It's hard enough writing those on, never mind trying to work from that to do it. So it's 50 foot-pounds of torque on the old torque wrench. So I'm going to go around, probably tighten it all down to maybe 20, then maybe 45, and then maybe 50. So just take my time with it, really. Right, let's take it to 48. And finally, 50, just a tweak more. Right, that's that torque down. I think I'm going to save these for the other side. Hopefully they'll still stick. Stick them to there. And of course what I have to do now is that I've got to connect these, put the springs on these two valves here before I put these heads on, because otherwise I won't be able to put the springs on, so do that next. So valve springs now on, and I was paranoid about dropping the flipping collets down there, and I didn't, which is quite good. Be a real shame to do that now, wouldn't it? So now it's time to stick the subheads on, and I tell you what I'm really itching to do, and that is a compression test on this thing. See if there is any compression and how consistent the compression is between cylinders. So let's get cracking. So finally, after hours and hours and hours, more elbow grease than Amazon could supply, it is done. I have put both heads back on, both subheads back on, and it is looking much finer than it did before. I now know the state of the bores, not bad. I know the state of the valves and the seats, not bad, not perfect, but not bad. I was going to do a compression test on it, but I can't find my compression tester. I mean, it's not like I've got much stuff, is it? I mean it should be obvious to find. But anyway, I'll have to do that next time. So talking of next time, obviously I'm now on the final furlongs to get this engine started. Only a few more things to do now. All relatively simple. Should be straightforward. No more excuses. Time to crack on. So if you want to see that, tune in next time. If you like this video, please hit like. If you've not subscribed and you want to see what's coming, hit subscribe. Please do leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you thought I've completely bodged it or you think I'm onto a winner. Either way, I'd love to know. But for now, thanks for watching.